What's going on, folks? So I just got a real quick thing to add. So I know a lot of people are thinking, well, what is a marriage biblically? Well, biblically, a marriage is just consummated by having sex. So we must understand that society is so far off track from the biblical values to which we define things on. It's kind of hard to relate in modern standards. You see, and a lot of people believe that they have to go to a state, which actually only came around 1913 through a tax revenue act that required the state to get involved. And we know there was some kind of nefarious agenda involved, well, why the state had to get involved with your personal life in your household, particularly with your money, of course. But let's be honest, if the society, was designed and built on spiritual biblical values as it was in biblical times, when men had rulership and legal authority to control their lives and their families and their resources, this would make sense. And let's get real. A lot of people have been indoctrinated into traditional things, which are really pagan rituals, like this whole getting on one knee, the ring, which I understand the origins of where a ring came from and the symbolism behind it. People, do your research. Stop just doing things because people did them. Research and know exactly where what you are doing came from and what it represents, especially if you are of a biblical mind, because this is why a lot of people don't get into biblical marriages. They actually believe that these traditions are relevant, and it's usually these traditions which allow them to get deceived. How many women just want to get married for a ceremony or a ring, but neglect the actual role that a biblical marriage, presents her to be in? Let's just get honest about the situation. So, if you actually want to get in a biblical marriage, just make sure your values are in sync. You have a mutual understanding about what respect is and what the purpose of this marriage together represents. You have to be in sync on these levels. Attraction is the easiest and smallest part when it comes to what actually makes a marriage last. Now, getting into marriage is easy. Making it last and avoiding it being a continuous headache and hardship is where many people fail at. So I just wanted to let people know, biblically, you don't need to go to the state. All right. And I know I test that people do their own research and their own understandings. Just know that having a marriage certificate or contract from a court is not honored by God. And biblical and most marriages by today's standards will be considered fornication, because God is not involved in it. He's not reflected in how we treat one another and what we value out of the marriage. It's basically become idolatry. We've turned what we value outside of God, outside of what marriage represents, and we've tried to turn a marriage or a civil union into that thing. And this is why it has been adapted by same-sex couples, and it's going to continue to be adopted in all kinds of sexually deviant behaviors that are not logical. Now, I understand this is a hard thing to say for many people, but marriage was designed for male and female, and it has a lot to do with the procreation or creation of children under male rulership with legal authority. So I just want people to understand that, a lot of this has been indoctrination and people following to tradition, and they think that it's biblical, even though they fill it with a lot of unbiblical pagan rituals. that actually promote vanity and deception, which actually have turned it into idolatry, and which is why the most uh the most lasting part of a marriage is usually just getting married. After that, people just really don't like each other, and they really can't get along because they lack the values and the objective, unified objective to see what the true purpose out of it is. And once you draw children into something like that, it's the divorcing that's causing more chaos. It's funny how people who are in unbiblical, chaotic marriages think they're better than people who are just fornicating without the marriage certificate. But truthfully, in God's eyes, y'all doing the same thing. One just thinks that because the state has certified on theirs that it's better, and it's not. And this is why we have these results and these marriage failure rates. When are the results and the evidence presented going to have more value than how we feel about things? It's not working in the large scheme of things, is because we have gutted all of the substance, all of the values, and all of the structures to which marriage was designed in, and replaced it with a whole bunch of lies, indoctrinations, vanities, and just evils. That's why evil people can use marriage and leverage and extort resources from people. That's why marriage uh, can be used in such evil agendas, such as same-sex marriage, etc. Because if it maintained its structure and design, it would already have eliminated those outside influences. So I'm just gonna leave it at that. Peace out.